I walked into the forest where an explosion happened a week ago. The air smelled like burnt metal and fear. The trees whispered as if they knew something I didn't. I felt watched, but I kept moving forward. I found the explosion site, but it was covered in thick mud and strange symbols carved into the trees. A low growl echoed from the shadows. I froze, my breath caught in my throat, and the forest held its silence. I turned around, and it was there, huge, hunched, and glowing with a sickly green light. It was watching me. It moved. I ran. The forest closed in, and I realized I was never alone in the woods. I heard it before I saw it, a low growl, like the forest itself was breathing. I froze, heart pounding, as the shadows around me thickened. I had to keep moving, but the sound was getting louder, closer. I walked into the forest, drawn by the explosion's echo. The trees whispered secrets I couldn't understand. Something was wrong here, but I didn't know what. The air was thick with an unnatural silence. Every step felt like a mistake. I kept checking my phone, but there was no signal. The forest was alive, and it didn't want me here. I found the crater, still warm and pulsing with a sickly glow. The ground was cracked, and the air smelled of decay. Something had happened here, and it wasn't natural. I heard a low growl, like the forest itself was breathing. My heart pounded as I froze, unsure if it was coming from behind or inside my head. I had to move, but I didn't know where. I ran, but the forest closed in around me. The trees seemed to shift, and I felt watched. Every sound was louder, every shadow deeper. I wasn't alone, and I was running out of time. I stumbled into a clearing, breathless and shaking. The silence returned, but I knew it was a lie. The forest was waiting, and I had no idea what it wanted. I found the crater, half buried in leaves, with a strange metallic scent. The ground was cracked, and something glinted beneath the debris. I heard the growl again, deeper this time, like something was dragging itself through the underbrush. I turned, but there was nothing there. I found a trail of claw marks, fresh and jagged, leading deeper into the woods. The air was thick, and my breath came in shallow gasps. The growl stopped. I froze, heart racing, as the silence pressed in. I knew it was only a matter of time before it found me. I stumbled upon a broken radio, static crackling. It played a voice, distant and distorted, saying, "It's not a bear." The growl returned, louder now. I ran, but the forest seemed to stretch endlessly, and I knew I was being watched. I found a note in the mud, written in blood. It said, "Don't trust the silence." The growl echoed again, closer now. I had to decide run or stay and face whatever was coming. I found a rusted chain nailed to a tree, its links covered in dried blood. It led into the thicket, pulling me deeper into the unknown. The growl stopped. Silence pressed in, heavy and suffocating. I froze, heart pounding as if the forest itself was holding its breath. I heard it again this time, a whisper in my ear. "You should have stayed away." I turned, but nothing was there, just the wind and the smell of decay. I stumbled upon a campsite, half burned and abandoned. The remains of a fire pit were still warm, and the ground was littered with strange claw marks. The growl returned, but this time it was louder, closer. I ran, but the trees closed in, and I felt the weight of something massive behind me. I reached the edge of the forest, but the path was gone. The trees had moved, and I was trapped. The growl echoed once more, and I realized I was never meant to leave. I'm still here. The forest didn't let me go. If you made it this far, don't stop now. Watch the end. Like, subscribe, share, and tell me what haunted you. I stumbled into a clearing, breath ragged, and found a twisted tree with a charred mark like a claw. It wasn't natural. The explosion left this. It wasn't an accident. I ran until my legs gave out, but the forest closed in. Then I heard it, a low growl, like thunder. I froze. The bear was here, and it knew I was afraid. I crawled to a stream, trembling, and saw my reflection eyes glowing faintly, like the bear's. It wasn't me, I screamed, but the sound echoed, and the water turned red. I stumbled into a clearing, my hands bleeding from branches. The ground was scorched, and the air smelled like burnt hair. A rusted metal fragment lay nearby, etched with symbols I recognized from the explosion's footage. I grabbed the metal shard, heart pounding. The symbols pulsed under my touch. The forest whispered, and the ground trembled beneath my feet. The symbols burned into my palm, and the forest grew louder. A low growl echoed from the trees. I ran, but the ground shifted, trapping me in a circle of twisted roots. The bear's eyes glowed red, and I heard its voice in my head. I stumbled into a clearing, breath ragged. The air reeked of ozone. A crater lay ahead, smoking. The bear's growl faded, replaced by a distant mechanical hum. I crawled out of the roots, trembling. The crater pulsed like a heartbeat. A metal fragment glinted in the smoke part of a drone. The hum grew louder, closer. I reached for the fragment, fingers trembling. It buzzed like a live wire. The hum turned to a screech. The ground shook. The crater opened, revealing a glowing, pulsating core beneath the earth. I pocketed the fragment, heart pounding. The core's glow intensified, casting shadows that moved without light. A low growl echoed from the trees. I ran, but the forest closed in, and the bear's eyes glowed like embers in the dark. I stumbled into the clearing, breath ragged. The core's pulse matched my heartbeat. A jagged shard fell from the sky, landing at my feet. It whispered my name in a voice I recognized.